What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? Today I want to share something. This right here, you're gonna want your cousin, your mom, your dad, your girlfriend, your spouse. You're gonna want them to watch it, and I want you to know that I'm not saying that because I want views on this video or anything like that. So much so, watch this. And then if you have to screen record it so it doesn't add to my views, or, if you have to gather 10, 15 people around in in the house so it doesn't get 15 individual views, but everyone watches it at one time, I don't care. I just really think whoever sees this will be able to take away something that could transform your situation, because it's transformed mine. And so there's three things I want to talk about today. The first one is gratitude. The second one is belief. And the third one is failure. These three things, I believe, are the catalyst, or the three things that will dictate how your entire life experience goes. And they're three things that we actually have control over. And these are also the three things that keep us stuck in our life, right? The lack of gratitude, limiting beliefs, and then the inability to process failure. Okay, so let's get right to it. Gratitude. There's a book I've mentioned plenty of times. It's called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. And something that he mentions is the different frequencies that we operate on, whether it be through fear, shame, guilt, or whether it be through love, through courage, through self-actualization, all this sort of stuff, right? And so one of the things I've realized is once you live a little bit of life, there's a certain number of experiences that you go through that can make it very difficult to operate in a place of gratitude, right? Like, for example, before you've been screwed over, it's really easy to be grateful for life and grateful for the world because everything's kind of roses, everything's nice. The moment someone screws you over, or the moment you are the right person for the job, but someone chooses somebody else based off of, a relationship or nepotism or something like that, or the moment you have a relationship and then somebody does something selfishly and then it hurts your trust, or whatever the case may be, that's the moment that operating in gratitude becomes very difficult, because to be grateful for something that's hurting me is very, very hard to do, okay? And so what happens is, when we're kids, we usually have this open, free, abundant spirit, and then the older we get, if you ever meet people where it's like the older they got, the more cynical they got, right? It logically makes sense, because the older you get, the more chances you have to be hurt. And every time you get hurt, if you don't know how to process that hurt, you can turn that hurt into shame, into frustration, into anger, into cynicism. Okay, so here's something I've been doing. Here's something that I've been doing lately in order to stay aligned in an energy or spirit of gratitude, no matter what's happening or what circumstance that I'm in. I started processing everything that happens to me with the question. There's a guy, Robert Kiyosaki, he has a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, but he talks about, and it doesn't have to do with the book. It talks about, he says, when you make a statement, you close your mind. When you ask a question, you open your mind. So he says, instead of saying, I can't afford something, he says, how about you say, how can I afford it, right? So we're not talking about affording things here, but I want to talk about gratitude and say, instead of saying, it's impossible to be grateful for this thing that happened to me, instead, let's say, how can I find gratitude in this moment? Okay, so this is number one, gratitude, right? So let's say somebody walks by right now and smacks me in the face, right? Or they come beat me up, right? I don't know. These are extreme examples, right? But if somebody comes over and beats me up, obviously that experience is very difficult to be grateful for that experience, okay? But if I can say, how can I be grateful? Instead of saying, bro, you're not gonna be freaking grateful for being punched in the face. Like, it sounds ridiculous. I know it sounds ridiculous. That's why it's so difficult. But if we could say, you know what, instead of making that statement and closing our mind and closing our heart to the possibility, let's ask ourselves, let's say, how can I be grateful for this? Bruh. The reason why it's so difficult is usually those are circumstances that you would never ask to happen. You would never want somebody to punch you. You would never ask for someone to punch you in the face, right? And so whenever you hear someone say, be grateful for what's happening to you, if bad things are happening to you, it's like we cut that off because we're like, bro, you don't know what I'm going through. You would never ask for this to happen to you, right? I just put a video on Instagram a little while back talking about Frederick Douglass and how Frederick Douglass talked about his gratitude for having gone through the process of being a slave. Like, he's like, I'm better off for having been a slave. All right, so as I'm about to put this out, I want to make sure I stop and like make sure this point is extremely clear. And even hearing how I said it, I don't like it all the way. It's not that he was grateful for being a slave. It's nuance, right? It's, again, and you'll see, I'll explain it here. I went through something that was horrible, right? You see all the books that he wrote about it. Horrible what happened to him. Again, in hindsight now, looking back, all the works that he did after his slavery, he speaks on the lessons that he learned that helped him to make the impact that he did. There's certain things that I've gone through in my life that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. I would never want to go through it again. And I am better having gone through it, even though if I could, it's like, it's one of those nuance, like, I wouldn't want to go through it again. And at the same time, I'm not who I am today if I didn't go through it. So it's, like the gratitude for who you are is what gives you gratitude for the journey that you've been through. So I just want to make sure that's really, I hit home on that because it's a very important part of this. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm taking it lightly at all. And I'm like, when I first heard that, I'm like, bro, don't tell me you're grateful for being a slave. You would never go back to that. No. You don't have to want to go back to it to still be able to be grateful for what you got from it, right? Every situation that happens to you, you ever heard someone say, everything happens for my good? And you're like, yeah, okay. Try getting punched in the face, right? So if I were to ask myself, how can I be grateful for this? I'm gonna find some crazy, ridiculous, wonky freaking answer. I'm gonna be like, how can I be grateful for somebody punching me in the face? I can't. Let's see. Okay. So because this person punched me in the face, because they beat me up, I am now aware that I need to take Taekwondo lessons, or I need to take karate classes, or I need to take boxing lessons, because I clearly don't know how to protect myself. My reaction time is slow, and I can't defend myself, out in public, okay? Crazy, I know, sounds ridiculous. Hear me out though. If you were to get punched in the face, and then that would be the catalyst for you to take boxing classes, and now you're able to defend yourself, and something pops off next year, and you're able to take care of your family, your wife, your kids, whatever. In hindsight, that negative thing that happened to you, you would be able to find gratitude. Here's the only challenge for most of us is it takes too long for us to find that gratitude. It's very difficult to find. So in that moment, you're like pissed off. You're like, no, there's no freaking way I'm gonna be grateful for this, right? And then 5 years later, you're like, you know what? I'll be honest, man. If I never got punched in the face, I don't think I ever would have took Taekwondo classes. I don't think I ever would have met you, and so forth, right? This happens often when you go through breakups, right? When you go through a breakup of a relationship, at the moment, it's too hard to see a silver lining. You're just like consumed by the feeling, right? Because our feelings is how our mind is processing this emotion. So this emotion of, I just lost something, my mind tells me that it's negative, that it's hurtful, that I was screwed over. And so it's nearly impossible to seek gratitude in that moment. And it usually takes us years and years and years, or months and weeks, or just a timeline to finally sit down and reflect and say, you know what? I don't think that relationship was for me. And if that thing didn't happen, I would have never walked away from the relationship. And so I know it kind of sounds crazy, but I guess I'm actually thankful for that thing and having happened, because it nudged or pushed me to move on, because I may not have done it by myself. What just happened is you were able to find gratitude even in an unfavorable situation, right? Something that I'm saying very often now. What's up, buddy? Hello. Something that I'm saying often now. Hi. I like that backpack. Something that I'm saying often now is, if you lie to me, I used to think, man, I'm so frustrated, I'm so pissed off, I can't believe you had the nerve to lie to me, how dare you, right? Now when I say, if I meet somebody and they lied to me, I know it sounds crazy, I say, I don't tell them this, but I'll say in my spirit, right? I'll say, thank you for testing my discernment. Okay, discernment means what? My ability to process, like, what's true, what's not. So because you lied to me, you tested me, right? And I want to get better at being able to decipher what's real, what's not. So when you lied to me, I had to activate my decipher, signal, right? Or I had to process and process, is this true or not? So actually, you lying to me made me better. And I know a lot of times we say this stuff like petty, like, oh, well, I'm glad he lied to me because it made me better anyway. No. Not that type, because in that type, you're trying to protect your ego. You're trying to protect yourself from being hurt. You're trying to act like you weren't hurt, as opposed to accepting, hey, I didn't like this. It hurt me. Because two things can be true. It can hurt me, and I can grow from it. So I can say, hey, you know what? I didn't like the fact that this person lied to me. I thought they would never do that, and it hurt me. This was somebody that I cared about. And I'm grateful that it happened, because it tested my ability to process my own emotions. It tested my ability to decipher truth. It also taught me to not be dependent on somebody else's word. Not that I can't trust them, but not to depend on their every word as like the truth, or not to trust their truth over the truth. There's so many things, good things that come from someone trying to do something wrong to you. And so when you think of that phrase, all things happen for my good, when you process it with this spirit, with this perspective, with this mentality, you start to realize, like, really everything's for your good. Okay, so that's number one, which is gratitude. Number two,